Alright, hello. Welcome to another normal Warframe video this time, where we continue the trend of fixing what we call MR Fodder weapons. MR Fodder are generally weapons that most people think they're really bad, and they are in need of helps to become really good. On this video, we're not going to take a look at one of those weapons, at least in my opinion. We're taking a look at the Tenora Prime. This is a viewer-suggested all the weapons that are in the series are viewer suggested, and this one was suggested by Ari Main. So, thank you for asking this one in. And I also took some advice from a friend of mine that also plays the game a lot and makes videos with me. You guys might know who I'm talking about, Mr. Morning, on who to pick for the next weapon. So he also kind of suggested that this one should be next. So, the Tenora. The Tenora is honestly a really decent weapon. You see, the crit chance is really high, the status chance is really high for the auto fire, and the secondary fire, the crit chance is even higher. It has a really good 3 times multiplier and a decent 20% status chance. Now, the thing that makes this weapon kinda not the greatest is the fact that it's hit scan for both of its firing modes, which makes it additive CO on both firing modes. That doesn't mean it's bad. That just means that it's not completely over the top overpowered. But we can make it pretty overpowered, trust me. Right here, I have a ribbon, which is, I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it here. This ribbon is kinda godly already. I could probably showcase this without a ribbon mode by putting this in and then putting hammer shots instead, which would take the critical damage down quite a bit. But I do think that when I do have the Riven mode and I do have the capabilities to use the Riven mode, I will go ahead and use it and abuse it to the best of its abilities. Now, if I wanted even more critical damage, I could remove this galvanized scope for hammer shots and a bit of status chance here, so that would be really good, but Galvanized Scope brings this weapon to red crit territory on the secondary fire, and I think that's very valuable. So, on this video, we're gonna just use Calmate and chill. We don't really need to buff this weapon at all, but we're gonna have a roar that is gonna buff it up. And honestly, this weapon doesn't need much of a help to do really strong things. So, we're gonna go to Circulus, and we're just gonna have fun while playing Calmate. And honestly, Home is still one of the Warframes that I think is very underrated. She's really fun, but she's obviously a solo-focused frame. You cannot pick her in a mission that you want to play as a squad, play with friends or whatever, but on its own, it's really nice. So, yeah. Minus reload on the Riven, kinda hurts it, but overall, not the worst thing in the world. Alright, 666 on the first degree, which is gonna give us blazing bombardment. Really good for this weapon with a really fast fire rate that it does have. So enemies during wall watch is also fairly easy to do. Oh, I have a bleeding dragon key. That's not gonna be very bad, but I did have a bleeding dragon key because I was playing Garuda. Normally this would be terrible, but thankfully Calmate doesn't really rely on health as much, and I don't think this would be much of an issue, even if I do go down, because Calmate can really easily pick herself back up. So, shouldn't be much of a problem. So, now we need to inflict people with the Toxin status effect, which, because of passive, is not going to be too hard. Health ability going to help a bit too. And there we go. Overall, I think the Tenora is a weapon that is pretty undervalued. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. Definitely not. And it's honestly a really fun weapon. It's like a Supra, but with a bit less ammo and a secondary fire to match its power capabilities. Like the secondary fire can hit 4 a lot. when you headshot. Like you say 1 million, 1.3 million, this is with galvanized aptitude and without any stacks of galvanized aptitude or anything. So if we add those, then we see 39.6 million right there with just one shot of the compressor and then shooting the secondary fire. So it's a really strong weapon in my opinion. I'm not sure why people think this weapon is MR Fodder at all. I did have it built myself already because I do like this weapon. I did like it way before the Prime came out. So yeah, I don't know what the fuss is about, honestly. Really unsure. So obviously with Homei we do get some decrease, we do get some damage to the weapon, but it's not like the biggest thing in the world, except the mission lasts for very long. We're gonna run this for 10 minutes only, so it's not gonna affect it that much, that's gonna be for sure. But you can see that this weapon is quite strong. And by judging by the 33 million damage it did to that one crewman, it's not that big of an issue getting high damage numbers with this. It really isn't. So yeah, not very sure why people hate this weapon. Or think it's MR Fodder. I don't want to say many people hate this weapon, but I do think people think that this weapon is simply MR Fodder. Not many people use it. Probably many people think that it's underwhelming, but even with Prime Shredon, you see this does quite a bit of damage. Overall, I think Tenora is a decent weapon to pick up for somebody who hasn't tried it. It is, I think, vaulted right now, but there is going to be a Prime Resurgence. I do think Octavia is there. If I remember correctly, I didn't actually check the Warframes that are there, because I do have all of them, so I don't really need to check if I need any more since I have all of them. And I don't really pay attention to know that. What I did pay attention to, however, is the addition they did, which they brought back, or DE brought back, the Unreal Tournament skins, which are some skins I covered for a very long time. So I'm really glad those are back, but a lot of people have been asking, you know, are we gonna get a Stalta video, are we gonna get a Kuva Ogris video? I could make a Kuva Ogris video, like explaining mechanics and all that. Stalta video, not really. I don't think anything will surpass the Stalta guide I've made. I think it's one of my best videos on the channel, and the views also, you know, they also show that as well. People do seem to agree that it is one of my better videos, so I don't think another video on it is really needed. I would most definitely say that it's not needed, so I'm not gonna make one. But I could make a Kuva Ogris video if you guys want to see more about the Kuva Ogris, because I do still think it's by far the strongest AoE weapon in the entire game, so definitely one to look out for, and the skin is absolutely beautiful too, so. The Tenora also has a very satisfying sound in my opinion. It sounds silent, well it's not, but the fire rate and all that, it makes it super satisfying. And obviously my Homei does have arcane acceleration, but this is also prime shred, so the fire rate is even more crazy. I do use Arcane Acceleration pretty much all my Warframes that are not Wisp because I'm way too used to having fire rate on my primary weapon, so it does make sense why you see this much fire rate, even though I'm not using Wisp. But at the same time, I do think that it's simply not needed, especially with the build I'm running for. Prime Shred is more than enough, especially with the extra punch through. It helps a lot with doorways, shooting behind any obstacles that might appear, because there are a lot of those in Warframe. And overall, the feel of a weapon when you give it punch through, especially when it's fully automatic like this one, is significantly improved. So I definitely suggest anybody choosing a fire rate mode if your weapon is fully automatic to use Prime Shred. It's by far the best one. Which is really nice also because Sidon 9 basically has Prime Shred on his own. He has infinite punch through and he can probably get some fire rate through means of Arcane Acceleration, which will make his weapons way stronger. Arcane Acceleration will probably work on his Exalted Sniper too, so that's one thing to look out for. It might be a must-have Arcane on him depending on how strong the Sniper is and how easy it is to headshot with, so we'll see. Oh, we have to kill enemies during wall, I didn't notice that. More focused on the talking part. Playing Homely is like really chill, so I don't really have to think about stuff I'm doing with her. And the only thing you have to think of when playing her is pretty much the decrees and how to acquire them. And that is most of the time not needed either, because you get simple decrees that work with you depending on what you play with. Or the challenges, not the decrees rather. The decrees are random, so far I've got some that are pretty bad and usable, and some that are really good, like Bombasting Mallet. The one decree that could completely break this weapon and get high kills per minute would be obviously the funny one with electricity, which if I recall, which I can't recall right now. What was it called? It's like the OP one, where you kill an enemy with a weak point. They put an electric field. Wait. Fatal something. Fault Finder, not Fault Finder, Fault Finder. Fault Finder as a decree is absolutely insane already, and the fact that you can get that decree on something outside of the very is pretty ridiculous for kills per minute. So if we ever got a Fault Finder through this mission, you could definitely see the kills per minute going from, like, right now they're a bit below 100, they would probably go to like 200 immediately. Because all I would need to do was stand on a hallway, a dead end, and then shoot whoever I wanted with a secondary fire headshot, and that would be enough to absolutely one-shot everybody running to me through the other room. It is extremely insane when you get that. But obviously luck needs to be on your side for that to happen. But as you can see, even with the Bleeding Dragon Key, survivability for Conley not really a problem as long as you play it correctly. Dying with this Warframe is really just a skill issue. Okay, I'm affected by Toxin. That is not great. Also, your ramp becomes really strong when you're playing this Warframe, because you get all the decrees and they do work on your ramps normally, so this is really good. Okay. Not sure I didn't die there. I think the Toxin proc almost killed me, but I rubbed it off. But it's all good. So yeah, really good. The Tenora Prime. Not sure why people think it's an MR folder. This weapon can easily level cap, even without a ribbon mode. It's really strong. Like, we saw 30-something million damage with barely any priming on one enemy, and you could probably take that to easily 500 million damage even without a ribbon mode. Ribbon mode will add a lot, obviously, but It's not something that is mandatory for this weapon to work. This weapon is already on its own very, very strong. I mean, the stats do indicate already that it's very, very strong. You see, from the previous guns that we've took a look at this on this series, there has been a caveat to every gun so far. For example, we've done the Euphona Prime. Taking a look at its base stats, we see that the status chance is incredibly low at 2%. On both firing modes, it's pretty low, 9% and 2%, so you see a caveat there. Or for example, if we take a look at the Kestrel has the lowest base damage out of every glaive, I think at least, I'm not sure. But it has very low crit chance, very low status chance, and it only has decent crit damage. The Kestrel is a glaive that shouldn't really work, and we did make it work pretty well as well on the other video. And then we had Tigris. Tigris is, you know, it has very low stat, and it relies on mostly base damage and slash proc, so it's also a weapon that I could see people, you know, considering MR Fodder these days, especially, that it's not on its prime anymore. So it's not really that big of a surprise to me to see all those weapons, but it's definitely a surprise to see the Tenora Prime when it's literally 32.224%, decent decent damage from the ammo, a big magazine, and the only real bad thing that it has being a bad reload. Which also, I just noticed, this probably is a UI bug, but the primary fire reload speed is higher than the secondary fire, even though the weapon doesn't change at all. This is 100% a bug, but I am really unsure. But the stats are there. It's not the Tenora is not missing any stats, and both firing modes are really, really strong. So here is the build for the Tenora Prime itself, if you guys want to see. And this is replacing Infected Clip. So, you know, you can go crazy with it. If you have a Raven like this or something like that, then you can drop Galvanized Scope for hammer shots. If you want to take more advantage of the primary fire in higher levels, I think it might be better. But I do like Galvanized Scope since I do aim for headshots a lot. And if for some reason someone wants the Komei build, it's this one. Yeah. Very simple, straightforward. But yeah. Weapon is really good. If in case you guys don't know what the list of you know, what the list of stuff has, let me real quick show you. Let some previous scripts. All right. So the weapons so far that we have done, we've talked about already. They have a done symbol next to them, so we will also do done on our mains. Tenora, so Tenora or Pantera, but then said Tenora. Now we have Twin Grakadas, Hespar, Stug, Igrit, Gulso, Ambassador, Arca Cisco, Skoliak, Prisma Twin Gremlins, Javlok Panthera, Steplos, Attica, Argonac, Orvius, Sonicor, Prova Vandal, Quads, Prisma Lens, Zeus Prime, Opticor, and Athodai. There is a few more that I have missed for sure, and I haven't added to the list because I do read every comment, but sometimes I don't look at them on the fly, and there is probably some that I have missed. You guys can remind me of them. I haven't forgotten about you at all. I know I've missed some weapons. I just sometimes forget to add them in the list. So if you guys want any more weapons than these to be featured in another video on this series, and you consider them pretty bad, please submit them in the comments as always. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next video.